Hi, this is Ambi from Board Game Blitz, and today I'm going to show you how to play Tzolk'in, the Mayan Calendar. The goal of the game is to get the most points. You can get points through buildings, monuments, the god track, and the Chichen Itza Gear. On your turn, you can do one of two things: place one or more workers, or remove one or more workers. You have to either place or remove. You cannot do both, and you cannot do nothing. After everyone has had a turn, the round ends. The center gear will spin once, and all the gears will rotate, so the workers will move up a space. When you place a worker, you must place it on the lowest available space on the gear. For example, here I would place it on the 0 space. If there were already workers here, I'd have to place it on the 2 space. When you place workers, you have to pay the amount of corn shown here. Additionally, if you place multiple workers, you have to pay extra corn. You need to pay 1 corn for 2 workers, 3 corn total for 3 workers, 6 corn total for 4 workers, and so on. When you remove workers, you can choose what order to remove them in. You get to do the action of the space your worker is in when you remove it. You can also pay corn to do the lower spaced actions of that gear, 1 corn per space down. If you leave your worker in the last space of a gear and let it spin, you get the worker back, but you don't get to do any action with it. The actions you can do are split between 5 gears. This is the food and wood gear. If you're on this space when you remove a worker, you'll get 3 corn. This space gives you 4 corn and a corn tile. If there are no corn tiles left, you do not get the corn. Here you can get either corn or wood depending on which tiles are showing. If there are wood tiles showing, you can take 2 wood and a wood tile, revealing the corn tile underneath. If there are corn tiles showing, you can get the corn tile and 5 corn. The corn and wood tiles are not resources. If you really want corn and there are only wood tiles showing, you can burn the forest by removing a wood tile from the game and taking the corn and the corn tile. You also have to move a space down on one of the god tracks, and you can't burn the forest if you're at the bottom of all the god tracks. The other spaces on this gear are similar. This gives you 7 corn or 3 wood. Here is 9 corn or 4 wood. These last 2 spaces allow you to do any of the previous actions on this gear without paying corn. This gear is for resources. You get a wood from this space, a stone and a corn here, a gold and 2 corn here, a crystal skull here, and a gold, stone, and 2 corn here. These last spaces let you do any of the others. Resources are unlimited, but crystal skulls are limited to the 13 available. This is the Chichen Itza Gear. These spaces are one-time use. In order to do the action, you must place a skull here, and then no one else can do it for the rest of the game. All these spaces give you the points listed and let you move up the god track shown: brown, green, or gold. This means you also get a resource block of your choice: wood, stone, or gold. The last space lets you do any of the others as long as there isn't already a skull on it. This is the building and technology gear. This space allows you to advance one space up the technology track. Here's the technology track. There are 4 different tech tracks. To advance a space on any of them, you need to pay the number of block resources shown: wood, stone, or gold. You pay 1 resource to move the first spot, 2 more to move to the next, and 3 more to move to the last. Once you're at the last space, instead of advancing on that track, you can pay 1 resource to get the bonus each time. This is the agriculture technology. If you have this, whenever you get corn from a green space, not the blue, you get 1 extra corn. On this space, you get 1 extra corn from the blue space as well. Also, you can get corn from spaces even if the corn tiles aren't there or aren't showing. On this space, you get 2 more corn whenever you get corn from a green space. Technologies are cumulative, so you get 3 extra corn total each time you get corn on a green space. The bonus tech allows you to move up 1 space on any god track. This is the resource tech. Here, whenever you get wood from a green or brown space, you get 1 extra. This gives you 1 extra stone when you get a stone from the resource gear. This gives you an extra gold when you get a gold from the resource gear. The bonus is 2 resource blocks of your choice, any combination of wood, stone, or gold. This is the buildings tech. Here, whenever you build a building, you get 1 corn. This one gives you 2 points whenever you build a building. This lets you build a building with 1 fewer resource of your choice. The bonus space is 3 victory points. This is the blue technology for the Chichen Itza Gear. This allows you to do the action 1 space ahead of your worker on the Chichen Itza Gear instead of the space it's on. This lets you pay 1 resource block after doing a Chichen Itza action to move up a god track of your choice. This gives you 1 more skull whenever you get a skull from the resource gear. The bonus is a crystal skull. Back to the building gear. This space allows you to build a building. Each building has resource costs at the top that you need to pay to build it. If you have the last building tech, you choose which of the resources you don't pay. For example, I could build this building for a wood and a stone instead of a wood and 2 stone. When you build a building, you get the bonus pictured. Buildings are replenished after each turn. This space allows you to advance 1 or 2 spaces on the technology tracks of your choice, paying the resources needed. This allows you to either build 2 buildings, but you cannot use your building technologies on one of them, or build a monument. Monuments are for endgame scoring, and you don't get any building technology bonuses for monuments. Here you pay 1 resource block to move up 1 space each on 2 separate god tracks. This space allows you to do any of the other spaces on this gear. Here's the last gear. This space lets you pay 3 corn to move up any 1 space on the god track. This one allows you to exchange resources and corn at the exchange rate here. A wood is 2 corn, a stone is 3 corn, and a gold is 4 corn. This gives you an extra worker. You start with 3 and have a maximum of 6. This lets you build a building by paying entirely in corn. Instead of any of the resources pictured on the building, you pay 2 corn. For example, this building has 4 resources, so it would cost 8 corn. If you have the last building tech, you pay 2 less corn. This lets you pay 1 corn to do any action on any gear except the Chichen Itza Gear. This lets you do any of the actions on this gear. When the gear hits or passes these stickered spots, you will need to feed your workers at the end of that round. At the end of each quarter of the game, you will need to pay 2 corn per worker. You have to feed your workers if you are able to. If you do not have enough corn, you lose 3 points per worker you cannot feed. At the end of the first and third quarters, the orange stickers, you feed and get resources based on where you are in the god track. For example, if I'm here, I'll get 2 stone and a wood. At the halfway and endgame points, the blue stickers, you feed and get points based on the god track. For example, if I'm here, I'll get 6 plus 1 plus 3, or 10 points. The highest person on the god track also gets the bonus stone at the top, the left value for the first half and the right value for the second half. If multiple people are tied, all tied players get half the value. One other space you can place your worker is the starting player space. If no one places their worker here in a round, 1 corn is placed on the tooth of the center gear when it spins. When you go on the start player space, you get all the corn that is accumulated, but you cannot use it during that turn. If you don't have the start player marker, then you get it and become the starting player next round. If you already have the starting player marker, then you pass it to the player on your left. You also get your worker back at the end of the round. Taking this action also allows you to choose whether or not to spin the gear 2 turns instead of 1 at the end of the round. Once you use this double spin ability, you flip your player board over to the dark side, indicating you cannot do it again. You also cannot do this if someone is on the second to last space of a gear and it would push them off. If you double spin past a sticker, they're still feeding at the end of the next round. At the beginning of your turn, if you have less than 3 corn, you can beg for corn. To do this, move 1 space down on a god track and take corn so you have 3 total corn. If you need to place a worker and don't have enough corn, you have to beg for corn. If you're already at the bottom of all the god tracks and don't have enough corn to place a worker, you must get rid of all of your corn and place your worker on the cheapest available spot. When you move up the god track, you can be on the same space as other players, except the top space. Only 1 person can occupy the top space. Also, when you reach the top space of a god track, if your player board is on the dark side, you can flip it back over, showing that you are able to use the double spin ability again. At the beginning of the game, you start with 3 workers. You also get to choose 2 out of 4 starting tiles and get the resources and bonuses pictured. At the half game, the buildings will change from age 1 to age 2 buildings. Monuments are never replenished or switched out. At the end of the game, when the gear has done 1 full rotation, and after the final feeding and god track scoring, you will get additional points for monuments and leftover resources. Convert all your resources to corn using the exchange rate. Wood is 2 corn, stone is 3 corn, and gold is 4 corn. Each corn is worth a quarter point. Each crystal skull is 3 points. Monuments are worth points based on what you have. The player with the most points wins. If there's a tie, the player with the most workers left on the gears wins. That's how you play Tzolk'in. For setup and building and monument explanation, click the link or check out the back of the manual. Thanks for watching Board Game Blitz!